Hi ladies, today we're going to talk about corresponding angles. And we can identify corresponding angles in a pair of parallel lines that have a transversal that have intersected them. So let's go ahead and get Geogebra open. And I'm going to drag in my parallel line file into Geogebra and open that up. Okay, so here we have a set of parallel lines cut by a transversal. We named the line of transversal H. We named our parallel lines G and F. So today we're going to talk about angle relationships that are identified when we have parallel lines cut by this transversal. And the first one that we will talk about is corresponding angles. So that we remember what kind of angles we're looking at in this particular file, I'm going to come up to this particular menu. It says A equals 2. I'm going to click that and get a text box. And I'm just going to come over here and click that and type in corresponding angles. Now in this text box, for some reason, you have to put a double space in between the words to make it look like a space. So there's our corresponding angles, what we're going to be looking at today. Now, corresponding angles occur when both angles are on the same side of the transversal and either are both above or both below the parallel lines. Okay, so for instance, angle FCG, this one, and angle BDC are corresponding. They're the same angle measure. They're congruent. So let's talk about locating those angle measurements. So let's go up to our angle menu, click that first angle, and we're going to click on the point on the ray, the vertice, and then the other ray. And you'll notice that it'll give you the angle measure there. Let's go ahead and do angle BDC. Okay, so we've measured both of those. If you get your move tool, which is your arrow tool, you can actually move out the angle measurements so that you can see them clearly. So we call these corresponding angles, and we'll notice that corresponding angles are congruent. So back up here in our box, we can put corresponding angles are congruent or equal in size. And remember, we need 2 spaces in between each word, because that's just something quirky in Geogebra. Okay, now we also have 3 other pairs of corresponding angles, and I'd like to identify those today while we're working. So another set of corresponding angles is GCE and CDA. So let's measure those. Let's go grab our measuring tool for our angles, and I'm going to measure G, C, and E. It's going to pop up here, and C, D, A. Again, I'll go get my move tool and move those angle measurements out so that I can see that indeed they are congruent. Okay. Now we can also color these angles as well. If we click on the angle, we go here to our little menu in our cog wheel, click on the color tab, we can select a color for those. So now my angle is pink. I'm going to also click on this angle down here and color it pink as well, and then get rid of that menu. Okay, so our green angles here are corresponding, and our pink angles are corresponding. Now we also have 2 other sets. ECD and ADH are also corresponding. So let's measure them. Get my angle tool, ECD and ADH. Again, I'll get my move tool and move those angle measurements out. Okay. And I will color those angles back over here with the cog wheel. I'll go get a color. Maybe they need to be blue. And I'll close that menu. All right, so we can definitely see 3 different sets of corresponding angles here. And of course, our last one is BDH and CD. So we've got two more corresponding angles here. So let's, okay, something a little quirky about GeoGebra. In order to get this last one measured, we're actually going to go backwards. So D, C, F, and H, D, B. I'll get my move tool and move those angle measurements down and color those a different color. So back up here to my cogwheel after I selected the angle. And let's color those purple. Okay, so we'll notice here that our green angles, oh, let's go back here and color that purple. There we go. Our purple angles are corresponding, green angles corresponding, pink angles corresponding, and blue angles are corresponding. And corresponding angles, again, are congruent and equal in size. Some of the other things that we can see on our picture here, we can see that our vertical angles are congruent. So we've got vertical angles here, congruent. We can also see that our adjacent angles are supplementary. Okay, they total to 180. I've got adjacent angles here, adjacent angles here, adjacent angles here. And again, every pair of adjacent angles on the parallel lines that are split by the transversal, they're supplementary angles, meaning that they total up to 180. So again, those are adjacent. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. We'll go up here to our little menu with 3 lines and hit save. We don't need this special sign in. We can just close out of that. And we're going to call this corresponding angles. We'll hit save. It'll ask us where. Yeah, we want it on the desktop. Okay, so next I'm actually going to close out of GeoGebra, and then our next video will be on co-interior angles. See you then.